Hello, and welcome back, everyone, to the Chats and Chuckles show. And we're going to pick up on this week's episode 11, Season 6, Love and Marriage Huntsville, Bettie Blues. We're going to pick up from last week's meeting, because the meeting was so fascinating, right? We just have to take a little time to get inside what a comeback group meeting consisted of. And we're starting to understand why before, or at least, do you agree with me? I feel the reason why the comeback group never could get its footing, could never really get going, and could not get out of its own way, was because Marsau. I believe Kimmie is 100% right that he was the dysfunction of the group. And here's why. He wants to run everything. He wants to be in charge. When Kimmie and Melody first got together last episode, and Melody came in and Kimmie was already there, and she said she came prepared, she had her notes, she had everything ready to go this time because she understood what she was walking into. She had that letter, do you remember? She had that letter that Marsau wrote to the group, essentially nominating himself as president, and why he should be. He is the source of all the confusion. Now, in this week's episode, it opens with Kimmie saying, they're going back and forth, and Kimmie is saying that Marsau was the premier dysfunction of the group. And I get it now. I get it, because here's what happens. If you are the dysfunction of the group, in order to get your agenda across, you send in a ringer, right? You put somebody else out there who can do it for you, who can regurgitate your points, put it out there, and then hopefully, because the argument is coming from someone else, it looks like there is a consensus. And if there's a consensus, then most people tend to align with the consensus. And we know that Maurice does that because he's Mr. Flip-Flopper. He don't stay on no kind of moral footing. He's going to sway wherever the wind goes. And because that is what Marsau sees, and that's what Maurice does, he figures that he could get the others by way of Martell and Melody to somehow, fall in line under Tisha bringing this together and it being her brainchild, when in actuality, it's Marsau. Okay? He could no longer hold his peace. He could no longer sit there and chew the inside of his jaw out. He had to finally take over the meeting. He benched Tisha. She's completely frustrated because I know she thought she could get it done. I'm going to tell them that it's my idea, even though these are the same ideas. It's my idea, and it's going to be under black with a QU instead of a CK. And that means that, this is all new idea, and it's me, and everyone's going to play along nicely. And we now get to see why nothing really went forward, compounded by the fact they didn't have no money. Can you imagine? Let's go back to, first season, where they're trying to pull this thing together. They're trying to put together the bylaws. They're trying to put all this stuff together. They're trying to, figure out how they're going to build the homes and what that means. And Marsau is in the thick of it. We didn't see it at the time. But think back. Go back and look at that first season. And you'll see, tell me if you see what I see. I see Marsau not so cleverly wanting to dictate how this goes, because now we know he really felt he should be president. The reason why he couldn't be president, or they went a different direction, that, you know, it would just be by consensus. It wouldn't be per se a president. And if you ask me, it looks like Melody and Martell ended up being, you know, the co-presidents, the co-leaders of this coalition, because they had the money, they had the connections, they had the longevity in the community, they had the clout, they had everything in place. So why would they give that prestigious position and honor of president to Marsau? He's a fan in his own mind. Yes, we know that he thinks because he has spent time working at a movie theater, working under someone else's operating procedures, and that they were able to provide him with a very narrow blueprint. He feels that, hey, I have the most experience running a business, but you didn't run a business. You didn't run your business. You ran a business that already had a course of action mapped out. All you had to do was follow it. That doesn't make you a leader. That makes you a follower. So now I see, wow, this episode really opened up to me that Marsau put Tisha in as the ringer. And it still didn't work. And this is why. Because Melody is not Letitia. Melody is her own woman, always has been. She has always been the brains of the operation. She knows what she's walking into. She knows the room. And she was not backing down. She didn't have to raise her voice. She didn't have to get nasty. She didn't have to get indignant. She stayed to what she wanted to do, which was, I will move in baby steps and you will not rush me. And it doesn't matter that we're sitting here in this meeting now, barely able to get our points across. You're not even really listening to me, Marsau. You're not really honoring what I'm saying. So this conversation right here, right now, is no indication that we're cool. I will move how I want to move, when I move. And I don't need your permission for that. She's not needy. She's not Tisha. She's not someone who needs a strong hand to guide her because she's unsure of herself. See, Tisha is still very unsure of herself. She went and got all of these degrees, and I get it. She got these degrees. She got her broker's license. She's able to do this because she's feeling that perhaps the accumulation of all of this is going to give her the guidance that she needs. What she is lacking is confidence. And until she gets that confidence that comes from her taking a stand, from her failing on that stand. She may fail on it. She may be wrong. It may be right, but she's going to have to learn how to trust her own voice and trust her own gut. She doesn't know how to do that. She's trying, but she gets nervous, she gets scared, and it's easier to go get another certification or another degree because there's no judgment there, right? It's you and the test. It's you and the classroom. It's you and the studies. That's different than trying to sway public opinion through yourself. She hasn't learned to master that. And the reason why we know that is because of this back and forth that is going down between Wanda and Kiki. Kiki has always been confident. She has always been able to stand in her purpose, and whether she failed or whether she shined, she was comfortable with herself. And that's something that Tisha was not. I don't know if that's because of the household she grew up in. I can't imagine growing up in a household with Wanda, particularly 20 years younger, 30 years younger. I can't imagine what that looked like. I can see Tisha saying, I don't know what I'm going to walk into in my life, but I'm not going to repeat this pattern. Even though she is her mama. And when worse comes to worse, she defaults to what is familiar. And that is this attitude and this nastiness that she grew up with and grew up in the home and what she was surrounded by. So it all came together for me that, my God, here is this woman in Tisha that really needs someone to say, fly, baby, fly. She doesn't know how to fly. But she's attached to a man that doesn't want her to fly. She's attached to a man who says, man, if you fly, you're never going to come back. Because why would you come back to me? You might as well keep flying. And in her mind, though she has never really admitted it, we've had to put in the pieces because they don't tell you nothing. They don't show us their real lives. What I surmise, and this is all in my opinion, it is what I think, it's my opinion for entertainment purposes. But I think she has a lot of regret. She was slowly going to make her way. And then she met him, and he love bombed her. And when you've been love bombed, and that is something that had been missing in your life, she has already told us in previous seasons and episodes that she didn't have a mother who told her that, hey, I love you. She was taught love by things. She was given stuff. Because that's how Wanda receives love. But Tisha being love bombed by a guy who didn't know, or let me scratch that. Tisha being love bombed by a guy who too was trying to figure out his own stuff. It felt like this must be real because it's something different. I've never experienced this. So if it's new, it's exciting. If it's exciting, it must be real. And boom. Then she found out who she really married and what his idea of things really were. And I think that he has been financially irresponsible, in my opinion. And he has put them in a situation where she felt like she needed to jump in and also contribute to the household, because left for him to do it in and of himself, they could end up in financial ruin. And since we don't know what their real lives are, since we don't know what's really happening with all of the supposed lawsuits and loans and things, we don't know what's really going on with them, because they do a pretty good job. And when I say they, I mean Marsau does a pretty good job, along with Maurice, of just giving us an image. That's what they know to do. They don't understand how to give the truth. So I went off track a little bit. Let me get back on track and let me bring this to a close, because I do want to close out this meeting. I think it was so important that we look beyond the layers, that we pull back this onion a little bit. So once Marsau kicks Tisha to the curb, benches her, and begins to berate Melody, and he's trying to convince her that, hey, what we're doing now is the interaction that you were seeking. So what's the difference in getting out there in front of all of your followers, all of the people that you would market this event to come out? What's the difference? The difference, Marsau, is I'm not with you like that. I'm not checking for you that way. I'm open because I'm on this show. I'm open to showing other producers and executive producers and executives of networks that I can get along, I can play along, I can show up, I can give you a good show, a good positive show. But I'm not going to give you, Marsau, anything. We will have to take this slow. We will have to do it at my level of comfortability, and that's it. And I don't have to yell at you to get that point across. It is what it is. Now, one thing I want to intersect here is, did y'all see Martell say anything? I forgot he was in the room. He sat there, that ninja sat there, and he didn't say a word. He may have had some expressions if and when the camera went his way, but the camera was very careful to put it on Marsau, Tisha, and Melody. They wanted us to see, in my opinion, that Marsau was in charge. Marsau is in charge. And Melody did not back down. She did not. And that is why the comeback group did not go far. And it's, thank you, Kimmie. Thank you, Kimmie, for putting that out there. Thank you for letting us get a little bit of the BTS, the behind the scenes. Because I don't know about you, but I've always wondered, what was the dysfunction of this? It was Marsau. It was Marsau. And because he never got a chance to lead this group the way he wanted to, we don't need you to lead this group the way you led your home into almost financial ruin. And if it were not for Martell and you guys coming together to formulate SCOT, who knows what your situation would be. I believe Martell when he says that Marsau came to him and said, look, I have 6-7 months left of income before I run out of money. I need help. I believe he absolutely went to Martell and said that. And then Martell went to Melody, and they created this company, and they created a pathway for them to earn money. Now, if you remember at the second reunion, when they touched on SCOT a little bit, I believe it is the second reunion, and Melody said that she made sure that SCOT got the bigger contracts, that they had consistent money coming in, but she doesn't know what happened to the money. She got them the contracts. What happened to the money, she didn't know. Marsau is a king and the brainchild in his own mind. But he's not really that, because we see the level of his works. We don't see projects completed. We see him talk a lot. We see him put on a suit, but we don't see any workers. We don't see him communicating anything to anyone. We don't see him going into meetings. We don't see anyone coming to Uptown for meetings with him. Where they gonna sit anyways? They can't even sit in the office. There is no office. Now he's going back and rethinking the whole thing and trying to get this all together, because he didn't have that vision and foresight when he first. It's a mess, y'all. It's a mess. I can barely communicate my thoughts because it's a mess. But yet in his mind, he really believes that he should be president if he got one more chance. You know that person who perpetually fails? If you talk to them, they have all the right words, they say all the right things, they know everything, they got everything, they're smooth talkers. Even Jalen says that one time in his interviews, that Marsau wanted to turn Jalen into a smooth talker like him. And he says, that's not me. That's not what I want to do. That's not who I am. That's Marsau. He talks the game. He talks and talks and talks and talks, and he throws in all of these colloquialisms, and he's saying all these metaphors, and it's all to get you thinking that this guy really knows what he's doing. But look at his track record. Melody knows the track record. She knows this is his thing. And she will not be bullied. And I don't want to use that word lightly, but that's what he wants. He wants to be able to get her in. He wants to bang it over her head, get her into this, get her to show up, get her to promote this to her followers, get them to come so that he can finally say he did something. And as we know, as a hardcore millimeter, we know she never put that on her social media. So I don't know how this plays out, but I do know that Melody did not promote this on her social media. It did not happen. So you lose again, Marsau. You're not this big businessman, and I hope that at the reunion that there is time allotted to talk about his track record as a businessman. He's not a businessman, y'all. He couldn't close the deal. And I'm gonna leave it right there. So get down in the comments and tell me what you think. Am I off base? Do I see this correctly? Did Kimmie give us more insight, more than she anticipated giving us? If we put all of the pieces together, do we see that Marsau is the one in charge of this and that he really wants to try to make this work so that he can take the credit for it? Or was this really Tisha's idea? Is this really Tisha's brainchild and just Marsau lost faith in her and he just took her brainchild from her in front of her face? What do y'all think? And then let's delve into, in the next video, let's delve into Melody and Tisha meeting. Let's delve into that. I don't know that I want to get into Stormy and her family dynamic. I think it's extremely nasty and complicated and has nothing to do with this show. And I don't know that I'm invested. I don't know that I, A, care, and B, I don't want to see that unfold. I think Bettie is at her age and stage in life. She is that really nasty, bitter woman, and I don't see that changing, y'all. So I don't think I want to explore it. I don't think I want to do that. But you tell me, would you want to explore it? Do you want to understand it a little better? I think it's tragic. I think it's absolutely tragic. But before we talk about that, let's talk about this Tisha and Melody meeting. And how Melody is going to make sure if we're meeting to eat, that's what I'm going to do. That's what the hell I'm going to do because I'm hungry. I came here ready. And Melody is going to eat. I love that. I love that about her. I love that about her. But let's talk about that next time. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. And let's meet up and chat and chuckle next time. Until then, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll chat and chuckle soon. Bye.